Hello and welcome back to the Blues Focus podcast with today's guest. I'm glad to be joined by, again, Zach Woods.
Yeah, hello everyone. Good to be back. Nice to be back in podcast flow.
Indeed. And making his debut appearance on the Blues Focus podcast this evening is the newest member of the team, Mr. Sam Sheppy. Good evening, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good evening. Good evening. I'm all good, thanks. Nice to be here because I've done a couple of videos already. But yeah, good to get going now on the podcast.
I know. He said 2 videos in. He's already on the podcast. He's going places, this kid.
Well, I mean, Jamie is living it up in Spain at the moment. So
he's been putting it home, hasn't he? No, joking. He's not been putting it home. That didn't like. Tommy, edit that out. That joke.
It's staying in. It's staying in. You've ruined yourself there, mate.
See, it doesn't work. The old jokes don't work unless he's here because he gets annoyed, and then that's what makes it funny. But when he's not here, there's no one to get annoyed. So
we should explain why Jamie is absent. He's currently in Spain on holiday. He couldn't have waited like one more week just when we all go on to Spain for the week, could he? But no, probably because he doesn't want to spend a week with me and my brother. But yeah, we've got a good standing in time though. We've got Sam, so it's going to be a good podcast. And we've got a bloody lot to talk about. So where do we begin? I suppose the best way of sort of talking about things is probably not a Blues related thing, but just as a nice note to start off with, Jude Bellingham to Real Madrid. It was quite a while ago this was, but lads, thoughts on it? So how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think it's fantastic for Jude. Since leaving Blues, we obviously want to see him get to the highest level, win the Ballon d'Or, win the Champions League, do everything that we know Jude can do. I think the move to Dortmund when he was at Blues was very exciting at the time. We thought, oh, this is great. But there was always, although we saw what a fantastic player he is and was and still is, there was always that element of doubt. He's still only 16. Will he, go on and play at the very highest level? And a few years later, he's proved he's more than capable of that. So, yeah, so exciting for him. I think Real Madrid was the right move for him. I think, Premier League option could have worked out well as well. But I think, just get a few more years playing football abroad and see what happens in 4 or 5 years' time. But no, it's so exciting for him and it's thoroughly deserved as well.
Different football culture, I imagine, out there as well. So it'll be different for him again to get used to like different ways of playing, different cultures, different language to learn again, different food. He's broaden his horizons. Oh God, me back with my terrible phrases. I never know them properly.
Different food.
Whatever the phrase is.
I know what you're trying to say. Yeah, different culture.
He's not been stuck in England from being an English player, basically. And I think that's a great thing, really. I mean, like, we don't see it very often. And for him to go to 2 different clubs in 2 different places before he even gets back to the Premier League and smashes it there, it's going to be amazing for him. And considering he's only just turned 20 as well, like, it's absolutely sensational. Sam, what do you think to the signing?
Yeah, I mean, I echo what both of you say. Like, I just think the fact that Jude's decided to go to Real Madrid, probably the biggest club in the world, shows his ambition and where he wants to go with his career and everything. And I think it's a really brave step to go abroad again, because as you said, the fact that he's been already to Germany and then now to Spain, he's really well travelled. And I think for someone that's still sort of, just coming out of being a teenager, like, it's just fantastic and sets a perfect example, I think, of the Birmingham qualities that he now seems to be spreading across Europe. And in his interviews, he always just seems so grounded. Like, you saw his first interview at Real Madrid, and it just seemed like sort of a really great guy. And I just think, the way that he spoke, and with some British players that go over to Real Madrid, sometimes with Bale and Michael Owen, like, at times it got a bit skeptical of them two, didn't it, with the media getting onto their backs. But hopefully Jude has enough talent to sort of get those doubts away from him. And I really hope he does well, and all the best to him.
Yeah, I think similarly with Michael Owen and David Beckham, I think Jude is so much more. Actually, no, I think Jude is just a likable character. So I feel like people want him to do well just from the get-go anyway. I think was it £6 million, I think we've got out of the bid from the sell-on clauses, which obviously is going to help out with financial fair play. But yeah, he went for a total of £88.5 million with add-ons as well, which makes him, don't think it did make him the most expensive English player or British player at the time. But I think with Mason Mount, is it? Who's
Declan Rice,
Declan Rice, that's it, yes. Who's gone to Arsenal for what is 120? Was it 120
something like
million?
that.
Yeah,
It's an awful lot of money.
yeah,
just over 100, I think it was. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Just he was the most expensive one until Declan Rice signed for Arsenal the other day. So still an amazing transfer, and I think he's only one in 7 players who's 7 English players who's ever played for Real Madrid as well. So that's another record that's just mind-boggling. That's insane.
Yeah,
Considering he was at St Andrews as well a couple of years before.
The amount he's achieved at 19 is just a joke, isn't it? He's played championship football for a season, a couple of seasons at Dortmund, and now on to Real Madrid. And he's on the, because I think Tommy at school he would have been our year, wouldn't he? And even then he's on like the younger side of the year. So the fact he's because he's just turned 20, hasn't he?
Yeah, just turned 20.
So the amount he's achieved at the age of 20 is just ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't know what year. Because I remember him playing a year above in those documentaries that say he always plays a year above. But he was born in June of 2003, so he would have been at a year, yes, because it's August is the cut-off points, isn't it, in the education system. How old are you, Sam? I actually haven't asked.
I'm 22.
Oh, right, okay.
So a couple of school years above you, yeah.
Oh, that's interesting, yeah. I mean, obviously with Jude, it's just remarkable to still consider how young he is. I mean, like, was he 16 when he first scored for Blues against Stoke?
He was. He came on when he made his debut against Portsmouth. He was 16 years and a month, I think. So
God,
it's just unbelievable, isn't it? And then that Stoke game we'll all never forget, I'm sure. Incredible.
Yeah, happened literally right in front of me as well. It was absolutely insane.
Same here.
But yeah, also on the same day, Jude Bellingham, obviously played for us, got sold to Sunderland for I think it was a maximum of £3 million, wasn't it, in the end? But yeah, what's the thoughts on that?
I mean, I've seen a few different figures circulating around, but it seems to be like sort of round about the £1.52 million mark. And I think obviously people outside of the Birmingham circle look at him going to Sunderland and go, oh yeah, why is he going to Sunderland? It doesn't really seem like a sort of move for a player like him. But obviously the Birmingham fans know about the hierarchy at Sunderland and who's in charge of the academy. You've got Mike Dodds there and you've got Christian Speakman, who's at the hierarchy at Sunderland. Both used to work at Birmingham. And I think obviously them two would have had a huge say in Joe making the move to Sunderland. And I think, 17 years of age, like he's still very, very young. I mean, obviously the surname, people would compare him to Jude straight away. And I think that's a tag that he perhaps couldn't get rid of at Birmingham. And I think he comes under extra scrutiny because of his surname. And I think that's a bit harsh, to be honest. Like he's still a very young player. And I think at Sunderland, I wish him all the best, because you see some stuff on Twitter where it's some people saying, oh yeah, going to boo Joe when he gets to St Andrews or whatever. But I don't really agree with that. He's still a kid and he's still got so much to learn in the game, and good luck to him.
Yeah, no, I think you summed that up perfectly, pretty much. I think, I saw a lot of people saying that they're happy to see him go and take the money. And, I see both sides. I think Job did very well in the few games he was called upon last season. He had a few quieter games, but I think certainly towards the end of the season, he was showing signs of, the type of player he could become. But I get both sides of the story. I see why people are happy with the £2 million or however much it has come in, because it can be reinvested into the squad in other areas. Personally, I said it last time and I'll say it again. I'm a little disappointed that Job's gone, to be honest, because as you say, Sam, 17, still so young. In 5 years' time, he's still only 22. He's still an incredibly young player. So who knows where his career is going to go? I mean, time will only tell whether it was the right or wrong decision. I would have loved Job to stay, just because I think the likes of him and the players who are still here, George Hall, Alfie Chang, all those, I think are the future of Blues. So to lose one of them, I do think is disappointing, but I also see why people are happy with the money, because it's going to be reinvested, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose because I think in this window, I think we knew that we were going to lose one of the young players, unfortunately. And it looks like now, if sort of Jude Bellingham goes, which he has, then hopefully we'll be able to keep hold of George Hall, because there's a lot of interest in him, which I'm sure we'll get onto. But I'm sure a lot of Birmingham fans are gutted to lose a young player that's one of our own, I guess, someone that's come through the academy. And these are the players that we really want to sort of focus the rebuild around. And I'm sad to see him go, but then I can also agree with Zach saying that, we've got the money now and we can reinvest that into other parts of our team. So, yeah.
Do you think he's going to work at Sunderland?
I'll leave that one to you, Zach.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. Yes, it's so tricky, isn't it? Because who knows? He is only 17. It depends on the amount of game time he gets. Yeah, I can't tell you exactly, but I remember seeing a few weeks back a few signings Sunderland have made and thinking they're looking strong this season. And I can't exactly remember who, but I just remember seeing that Sunderland was certainly strengthening their squad. Whether he gets much game time or not, I don't know. It's such a tricky one to know where Job's career is going to go, because it is unfair to compare him to Jude, because they are two different players, regardless if they share the same name. But if I had to give you an answer, will it work for Job at Sunderland? Whether it works at Sunderland, I don't know, but I think he will go on and have a good career, because at 17, he was, he started a few games for Blues. He was coming on for Blues. Forget he's a Bellingham. He's 17 years old playing in the Championship. That's a good sign, isn't it? So I think Job's going to go on, and whether that's at Sunderland or another club, I'm not sure, but I think he'll go on and become a very good footballer, because for me, he was showing the signs, particularly towards the end of the season.
Well, here's a question for you, Sam, that you could probably answer a little bit more comfortably. Do you think that Tyler Roberts is going to succeed at the Blues?
Well, it's one of them ones where we've sort of been in this situation before, where we've got someone in and it's like, a player that has had Championship experience, had a couple of clubs in the Championship, and we've sort of taken a chance on him. £500,000 looks to be the fee. I think it's a really good fee, like for someone sort of his age, with as well, with like a lot of experience to gain, and also had a lot of experience as well. And I think Roberts is really going to fit into what Eustace is trying to do next season, where I think we're going to become more of a sort of like pressing team and really pressing from the front. And something that a lot of Leeds fans say about Tyler Roberts is they never doubt his energy. And I think that's something that Blues fans are going to see. And I think the fact that sort of he is like that energetic player and will sort of like press from the front, I could see it working in that aspect. I mean, whether he's going to deliver the goals or not is the $1 million question, isn't it? Because we've been needing a goal scorer for a very long time. But that remains the question. And I really hope Roberts does well. And I think he will do well in the fact that he'll get a starting place in the team, but whether he can hold on to that, we'll see.
Yeah, interesting that we're going to perhaps develop more of a attacking threat and more of a pressing from the front threat, like you said, which is very Leeds-like, isn't it? Because that is what Tyler Roberts was in that team for. I think the interesting thing with Roberts as well, that he does have Championship experience, but he has successful Championship experience. He's actually witnessed a promotion, hasn't he? He's been in a team where he's been fighting towards the top. He's had some pretty nasty times with Leeds as well. Losing in that semi-final to Derby County must have been like soul-destroying for him. So he's had his knocks, but he's been promoted. He got promoted the season after. So I think it's a top signing, really. The only thing, and I'll ask this to you, Zach, is his injuries. How much of an issue is that going to cause?
Yeah, you always take a risk when you're taking on an injury-prone player. It depends whether he can just stay fit this season. I know he had a lot of problems when he was at Leeds injury-wise. I'm praying they don't continue, because I'm quite excited by the signing of Tyler Roberts in terms of I think he brings a bit of pace into the side. He seems quite versatile. I think he can play on the wings or attacking midfield as well as up front. So he just offers something.
Player,
he offers something a little bit different, I think. So I hope he can stay fit. I'm going to be really nerdy now. Before this podcast, I got up the stats of all these players. I mean,
it's not talking about Zach.
I'm partial to a stat. I am partial to a stat. But I mean, he got 4 goals last season. In 20 games. He was obviously with QPR last year, wasn't he? So, I've seen the majority of the opinions on Tyler Roberts seem fairly positive. I've seen a few people ask a few questions, but I think for 500 grand, which seems about the fee, as you said, Sam, I don't think we can complain too much, really. It is a risk. It's always a risk taking on players who maybe haven't performed in previous seasons and are slightly injury prone. But I think for £500,000, give him a shot. As you said, a versatile attacking player, brings something a little bit different to the side, has had successful stints in the Championship previously, going up with Leeds. So I'm excited for it. Yeah, give him a go.
Yeah, of course. The next player in the transfer window that we signed was Koji Miyoshi, first Japanese players to ever play for Blues. I think that's right. Although I did see a tweet that went around. I'm not entirely sure if it's true or not. That we did have a player who was English, but was born in Tokyo. I think that I saw that going around on Twitter. I didn't really pick up on it very well. But yeah,
do you know which player?
I
do you know his
really
name?
don't know. I was in work at the time. Literally, when the announcement went out, I was in work at the time, so I didn't really know what I was. what I was looking at, whether it was real or whether it's just someone fannying about or something. I don't know, but don't really know much about this guy aside from the fact that wherever he was playing in Germany, he was rated highly. Did they win something this season as well?
Yeah, so he was playing, I think, in Belgium with Antwerp, and they won the Belgian Pro League on the final day. And I think this signing is brilliant. Like you look at the fact that he's got 2 years now playing the Conference League and Europa League as well. You know, that shows that he's some player if he's playing in Europe. And I think it's another one that adds energy. You look at his age as well; he's mid-20s. He's still got sort of a lot of time to play and prove himself. And another sort of winger as an option. I mean, we'll get onto it about the future of Teef Chong, but if he was to depart, then obviously we've got another winger now as like a replacement. But yeah, I just think Miyoshi's a good one going forward, and it's going to be interesting to see how he gets on.
Zach, thoughts?
Yeah, no, I very much agree with Sam. It's nice to have something a bit different again to come to the team. We need pace. We've been crying out for pace for years, and hopefully Miyoshi can bring some of that pace. I'll be honest, I haven't seen him play football prior to coming to Blues at all. I'm sure we've all seen that clip of his beautiful touch down the left-hand side. Have you guys seen that? I saw it circulating Twitter.
Yeah, it's doing the rounds, isn't it?
He is now unreal. So if he can be doing that week in, week out, I am more than happy with Miyoshi. But no, overall, it looks a good signing. It'll be interesting to see what he can bring to the team. As I said, I think it will be a lot of speed and hopefully quite a skillful player. But yeah, I think overall it's looking positive.
Japanese international too, and considering how good Japan were in the group stage of the last World Cup, you know, he could offer something big. You know, he didn't play. I don't think he played any games in the actual World Cup, but you know, I think the level that we could possibly expect could be of a high standard.
Yeah, I mean, he played in the Europa Conference League qualifiers, I believe. With was that with Antwerp, or let me have a look because it should come up here. Yeah, last season he played in the Conference League qualifiers 5 times and got 3 assists. So I'll stop with the stats now, but I do like a stat. And if he's contributing goals and assists in European football, then we should be onto a
positive stats.
Yeah, very positive.
He was also the first player to be announced with the new Undefeated sponsor on the training gear too. Which was interesting. So if rumours are speculating around to be true, they are the new front of shirt sponsor for next season. So no more Boyle Sports, no more front of shirt gambling sponsors as well. Interestingly enough, Chelsea had, was it Stake or was it Skate? I can't remember which way it is now. It's like the
Stake, I think it is.
Stake, yeah. Yeah, oh, of course, Stake as in Stake Bet, my bad. Fucking idiot sometimes, honestly.
It's all right, Tommy. It's been a few weeks, mate.
I'll get back into the flow in a few weeks' time. But yeah, they've had their sponsor change now because of their supporter groups have decided against it. So it's going to be interesting for football in general just to see how much that gains momentum over the time. Because it's starting to make big news, obviously with Ivan Toney making his betting issues public as well. Although, on the other hand, I don't really know who Undefeated are. Are they an American sneaker brand? Because
I'd have no. Let me have a look. So sure. Is it?
Yeah, I saw something saying they had like 2 million followers online or something. So they're a pretty big company, but I suppose like where we are, not so big.
Yeah, I think you're right, Tommy. I go on the website and all I'm seeing is sneakers. So yeah, an American sneaker brand, or it looks like a store that sells sneakers. I don't think they have their own brand of shoe, but
no, I think they are. Yeah, they have got 2 million followers. You're right, Sam, on Instagram. Yeah, they look like. Although they do have a couple of brand ones, they have a few workings with Converse and Adidas and those sort of things. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting, that's for sure. It's not a brand that we've really been associated with before in that sort of stand. We've always had betting companies, we've always had investment companies. We've never really had this before, so it'll be interesting. I mean, obviously we had Hero Clothing, but that wasn't really a sponsor really. In the end, it was mostly just Paul Richardson messing about with whatever he was doing. I have no idea. Thank God that didn't happen in the end, honestly. That would have been a disaster.
I think Go on, Sam.
No, I was just going to say, like, sort of this time last year, wasn't it? Around about this time last year, that looked to be that they were the people taking over, and there was the whole interview in the car park, and it just looked a bit dodgy from that, really, didn't it? Didn't really seem official even then. So
they kind of got stuck up, didn't they? Somebody had obviously tipped off the press that they were going to be there on the day, so they just showed up and just asked him a load of awkward questions. So it was a bit like, what do we do from here? But yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? And obviously now with the Wagner and the Jeremy Dale consortium, it looks much more official now, doesn't it?
Definitely.
It looks firmer, doesn't it? That's for sure.
I suppose like Undefeated is like the new sign of the American investment, isn't it? Sort of, if you look at Undefeated, American brand, and then now the American owners coming in. Yeah, it's like the first sign of them working together, really.
If only an American centre back could join us as well, that would be brilliant.
Yes,
that would be nice. That would be nice.
Oh, hint, hint. Player after that, we've got a lot of player signings, honestly, we really do. We've been off the air for too long. Christian Bielik, Sam, this was your first video, so do you want to walk us through what your thoughts on the signing was?
Yeah, so I think this transfer is probably the most important one that's happened so far. If you look at last season, the role that Bielik had to play in the team, just sort of gluing everything together, it's something I said in my video that, it really depends on how we play next season. If we look to sort of employ this three at the back system with a holding midfielder, Bielik is the perfect guy for that because he's already played in that system. And I just think out of the players we've got, no one really apart from Bielik can sort of do that. So I just think it's really important to get him in for that reason. And you sort of look at the fact that, a few years ago when Derby signed him, they signed him for £10 million, which is just astonishing money. And now we can get him for under £1 million. It's like over time, and he's not even that old as well. Like it seems to be that sort of the injuries have depreciated his value, but I think still he's a quality player when he stays fit, and he stayed fit last season for more or less most of the season. I know he had a wobbly patch after the World Cup, but the whole team did. And I think, this is the best transfer so far.
I would argue, had he not have so many injuries, he would be a Premier League player now. Because I think his talent is up there. His standard is definitely up there. I think injuries are just setting back over time.
Yeah, I completely agree. A bit of a trip down memory lane. And Tommy, you might remember this better than me because you're very, very good when it comes to past Blues games. But I remember his first stint at Blues when he was about 18, 20 years old. And I think it was the Wolves away game. Did we win 2-1 that day where Paul Robinson got sent off? And if I'm mistaken or not, either Bielik started or he came on. I can't remember. But I remember that night, I think that was the game where I remember Bielik playing quite a pivotal part and thinking at the time, because he was at Arsenal at the time, I thought to myself, this lad's a very good player. I'd like him to stay. Obviously didn't, moved around a few different clubs. But now that he's finally our player, I'm so happy. As you said, Sam, he was so pivotal last season, and just what he brings to the Blues squad, just to have that out and out holding, no nonsense midfielder who just wins the balls in the middle of the park and can take us forwards. Yeah, you're right in saying it's the most important signing of the window so far.
Yeah, and back to that Wolves game, I'm trying to think of it now. I think he came on as a sub for when Robinson got sent off.
That's what I thought. Yeah, so and I remember just thinking then he was a brilliant player. So.
You're right. Yeah, he came on for Gardner after Robinson got sent off, obviously. Because didn't he punch him on the floor or something like that?
It was like a slide tackle, and there was a bit of afters, and he got sent off afterwards. And
that's what Paul Robinson does.
Life at the end of that game, hanging on for dear life. One of the only wins under zone. I think there's two of them. That was one of them.
Did Davis score twice that day? Was it Davis who got them both?
No. Davis got the second one, which I fucking... I jumped so high to celebrate that goal. I hit my head off the ceiling, honestly. It was incredible. I must have jumped off the table and then knocked the top.
Was it Kieftenbeld?
Kieftenbeld got the first one, because what's his face? I can't remember his name. Is it Akimi? He comes out and tries to catch it and he drops it, and then
I think he could have been if I'm not mistaken, I think both goals he potentially could have prevented, but there you go. Who cares? We got the win, and I'm over. That's one of my favorite Blues games ever.
Wicked,
I just remember Bielik being fantastic that evening. So the fact he's now our player, and as you said, still so young as well. It feels like Bielik's been around for years, but he's still only 24, 25?
24, I think,
yeah.
24. So just to have a player, 25 it says here. So to have a player that important, that we can now call ours is amazing.
Yeah, it's a fantastic signing, and you consider the ones we've had before. So we've got Tyler Roberts, Koji Miyoshi, Christian Bielik, and then the next few ones we bring in as well. So we've got Ethan Laird is the next signing, if I'm not wrong. We've got Kevin Long on the free, so that's another decent addition. I was amazed to see that he was on the the release list or whatever it was at the end of the season. But obviously we've rectified that, and we have got him back now for another year. So that's perfect. There's not much else to say. Kevin Long he was shaky at first, but he was obviously getting back to used to playing football again. And as soon as he has been playing again, he's been fantastic. I mean, the 2 goals he scored away at Forest Green in the Cup and Rotherham at home, those performances were stand out. They were fantastic. But also as well, Ethan Laird, who was rumoured to be a loan signing at first, but we've got him on a permanent. So stating our business, really. I mean, Sam, give us your lowdown on this again, because obviously you made the video on this.
So I think the Laird transfer is really positive, and again, I think it's one of them ones where it's a signing where we thought about how we're going to play next season and sign a player that is going to be comfortable playing in that way. So if you look at sort of the 3 at the back system, which I think we will play with if we have the personnel for, Laird will be the right wing back, and he's someone with bags of pace, comfortable getting forward, and I just think this is a sign of sort of real intent that we're going to build for the future and get players that are like quite young, sort of early 20s, mid 20s, and the fact that we can sign players permanent from Man United shows that we mean business, because beforehand I think it's been free agents here and there, loan players here and there, but the fact we're actually buying players permanent from these top clubs that are still like sort of 21, 22, I just think it's a real positive sign, and reason to be optimistic.
No, of course.
I think that's summed up perfectly. I think we did a podcast, Tommy, a few weeks ago before the window even opened. So it would have been about a month or 2 back now. And I remember we were saying at the time, the players we want Blues to get in over the summer are young players who maybe haven't broken through yet, but are showing a lot of potential. And Ethan Laird is exactly that player. He epitomises the type of transfers I personally want to see, and I'm sure most Blues fans want to see as well. 21 years old, 2 years of Championship football under his belt. Obviously came up through the Man United Academy, I believe, and I think it's just such an exciting player, and I'm so surprised we've got him permanently. I'm amazed Man United didn't want to hold out for a couple more years, because I mean, if you're playing 2 seasons of Championship football before you hit 21, there's a chance your price tag's just going to continue going up. I think it's a signing. I think Bielik's the most important so far, but the one I'm most excited for is Ethan Laird.
Yeah, I mean, where has he been before? So he's been at Swansea, hasn't he?
Swansea, Blackburn, was it as well? Let me have a look.
So Swansea, Bournemouth, and QPR last season. I think that's the Championship teams he played for. Yeah.
Yes.
So... because Robertson and Laird would have had time together last season, wouldn't they?
They would have. Yeah.
So it's another. I suppose it's sort of bringing back players who obviously worked together before. So it's working on relationships. It's working on team morale, and everything. So it's smart business so far. You can't lie about it, really. A couple of the rumoured transfers that have come around recently. Chong to Luton was at the start of the transfer window. That's still going on. I'm quite surprised by this this rumour, at least anyway, because obviously Luton are a Premier League club now. But I'm not entirely sure what's really provoked them to go for him, really. It's interesting. And obviously we'll demand a higher price tag for him than we got him for, which is good business again. Obviously the rumours about that, I'm more than happy for him to go if it means we're going to get 3 or 4 million for him. That's good business on our end. As well as George Hall, if he goes for a hefty amount in the end, which he was rumoured to at the start of the year, wasn't he, when he was it Leeds or Watford? He was
Leeds for like 15 million or something like that.
I know, No, it's good business if we can get that done, because that financial fair play, then it's just stricken from the list, really. It's like don't have to worry about it ever again. Well, what's your takes on those 2 things then? So, we'll start with Sam. Chong to Luton, and then George Hall potentially leaving as well.
Yeah, well, you're saying, Tommy, about sort of the reasons why Luton may be interested in signing Teef Chong. And I think, one of Chong's first games with Birmingham was the 5-0 game at Kenilworth Road, where Chong just completely destroyed Luton. And I think ever since then, it's someone that they must have had an eye on, because the way that he performed that day was just phenomenal. I think he was like centre midfield, and he actually got applauded when he got subbed off by the Luton fans. So I think it just goes to show like that Luton still sort of see Chong in high regard. And I'm actually a bit surprised at some of the reaction online to this transfer news, because there are a lot of fans that are saying about sort of Chong departing and going, oh yeah, I suppose we'll take the money or whatever. But then you also see fans that are saying that if we are sort of to go places, Chong is the type of player we want to keep hold of, so we can progress up the league a bit more, because he is one of our better players. But I can 100% see both sides of the story to it. And I think, if this money was to sort of be used to get other assets that we've had before, maybe, you alluded to earlier about Trusty. If this money from Chong goes towards getting Trusty, then I could see it as a positive piece of business. But yeah, I mean, it remains to be seen sort of where this money's going to go. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where Chong ends up. But I do hope he stays at Birmingham. I do hope so. George Hall, I think, you know, he's a fantastic young player. Player that always seems to make an impact when he comes on. You sort of look, he's like electric pace, and someone that's just so direct, and someone that we've been sort of crying out for years. We mentioned it earlier with like Robertson, Miyoshi. It's just that pace and energy that we need, and keeping hold of someone like Hall to sort of witness his progression in that and to be properly coached under sort of Birmingham. I think it's a real positive thing if we can keep hold of him. And another player I'd like to see stay, but obviously knowing the financial fair play rules and what we've sort of got to get to, it's someone that, yeah, his future may be in doubt.
Yeah, I know what you mean exactly. Yeah, it's
like you want to keep hold of them, but then again, you understand the financial situation. You think maybe the hand's forced, so we'll see.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Anything to add on to that, Zach?
No, I think you've summed it up all perfectly. I have seen a lot of mixed opinions online. It's probably a 50-50 split. Some want Chong to go, some want to keep Chong. And like you said, yeah, both sides are perfectly reasonable. If the right price comes in and the right offer, fair enough. Personally, I'd love us to keep Chong just because, again, he provides pace in a team that does lack pace and a bit of flair and skill. And he is that spark in down that left-hand side sometimes. And as a club, you don't want to be losing your best players too frequently, do you? So I'd love us to keep Chong. And George Hall as well, I think, is the most important youngster at the club currently. Was fantastic last season and showed he's got huge potential. But as you say, the club could be forced into selling him should the right offer come in. You know, we know despite this takeover, over the years, Blues haven't been the wealthiest of clubs. We've struggled financially for God knows how long now. So if the club are forced into having to sell him because the right offers come in, then fair enough. This isn't, this isn't FIFA where you can just accept whatever and not think of the implications. You know, there's so much that goes into the business of a football club and all that sort of rubbish, which I'm not even going to bother getting into because I don't know half of what goes on. But if the right offer comes in and we've got to sell George Hall, fair enough. But obviously myself and I think all Blues fans out there would love him to stay.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's not like FIFA where you just save an exit and then just leave it and start another career.
Exactly.
One thing actually though, and I'm going to start this question off by the name that you love, Zach, Manny Longello.
What a man.
Do you think he's going to get used in the squad more? And what does the squad look like this season?
I hope so. I hope Manny Longello makes more appearances this season because I think the few times he did play last season, he was quite impactful. His goal against QPR and obviously in the last 10 minutes against Swansea changed the game really. So I'd love him to get more opportunity and play more in the squad because I always think it's important to give youngsters enough game time as well to help them improve and develop. I've seen a few things that seem to be suggesting that Eustace wants to stick with his back five this season. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But if it is true, I imagine that the two wing backs will be Ethan Laird and Manny Longello. And I think what a fantastic back two. That shows, two youngsters, bit of pace about them. It just shows that we're a club now who aren't relying on the 30, 31, 32, 33-year-olds. We want to get in these young players. We want to give them the game time. We want them to progress as individuals and help the team progress as well. So I'd love if we see the back five, if the team sheet comes out on day one, we see a back five with Longello and Laird as fullbacks, I'll be over the moon with that.
This is to both of you. Could we perhaps see a 4-3-3 this season?
Ooh, 4-3-3. It's one of them ones where you look at the fullbacks we've got, like Longello and Laird. I think Laird, it remains to be seen sort of how comfortable he is in a 4. But Longello in a 4, I'm not entirely convinced, if I'm being honest. I think he'd probably work better in a 3 because of his ability going forward. You mentioned there, Zach, about his goal against QPR, and I think we've seen this season, previous season, that Longello's been good. But going forward, I think that's his main strength. And obviously, if he's in a 4, he has a bit less freedom to do so. So I think it all depends on the personnel we bring in. But I'd say a front 3 could work in a 4-3-3 of who we've got. But yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to the defence.
Yeah, I know what you mean, actually, because we have... What would the back 4 be like under this current team? It would be Laird and Longello at left fullbacks. And then Long and Roberts. Yeah. It's not too bad, but I understand what you mean. His defensive duties are probably not that great, is that
could be exposed a little bit. Yeah.
I've got to be honest. That back 4 for me would leak in goals. But it's just I think if we want to utilize Laird and Longolo to the best of their abilities, I do think, as you said, Sam, they need to be used in the back five, purely because they are 2 attacking players. And then I think those 3 centre halves, no hate to Long there. I think I'm over the moon we've got him for another year. I think, as you said, Tom, he had a shaky start, but certainly picked things up. And I think Long with 2 decent centre halves next to him, and we've got a solid back line for the season.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, Sanderson and Trusty are also players that could potentially return. Trusty is probably less likely than Sanderson. I mean, Sanderson is rumoured to be joining for, I think, 2.25 million, if I'm right.
That's the asking price, isn't it?
Yeah. So we're not going to get him for cheap, but if we do get him, it's another great addition. So, yeah, I mean, he could obviously fit back into that back five, and then it's looking better. I mean, I think if I'm being honest, I think the midfield looks its strongest. It has been for a while, with Bale back in the team and George Hall and everybody. Chong as well, and obviously Jordan James, who I'm a big fan of. He doesn't get played very often, but yeah, I feel like midfield probably is our strongest point this season. I'm not entirely sure what you two think. Whether that's
yeah, I probably agree with that so far. I still think we could do with another out and out striker joining the club, someone to accompany the two wingers. Or the striker that plays next to them. And yeah, defensively, we still need a few additions. We certainly need 1 or 2 more centre halves, especially if we're playing a back five. So yeah, midfield's our strongest point. Chang as well, of course. So yeah, I think you're right in saying our midfield is pretty much set. If we went into the season with the midfield we've got now, I think I'd be on the whole fairly confident. I think it's our defence and attack that still needs bolstering.
Yeah, I think that's why the majority of them have been defensive and attacking minded transfers, haven't they? It's like prepping, obviously, of course. One last thing to talk about. I suppose we could expand on this a little bit since, Sam, you're the new boy on the block. We'll talk about some stadium repairs, and then I suppose we'll talk about first Blues games and everything, and how did you get into the Blues and all that sort of stuff. So we'll have a quick talk about the stadium repairs. There's not too much to talk about other than the fact that work is being done, so that's good.
There's some progress.
Exactly, yeah.
It's not like it is, we don't know, but some progress.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what actually is going on at the moment. Obviously, they're digging up, but I'm not entirely sure how long that's going to take, or whether it's going to be done for the set deadlines or whatever. But it looks okay. I mean, it's going to be odd when we go back for that first game, isn't it? When we've got pretty much just like this dirt hill just in front of us. It's going to look odd, isn't it? It's like going to one of those when they're like dirt bike events or whatever, and they go up these massive ramps and they do like backflips off it.
It's like motocross or something.
Yeah, it's gonna be like, it's not having one round of those at the bottom of the stadium. It's like some cunt going up on the fucking ramp there. Just
I don't they'll put the flags. I'd really hope they put the flags back up or something, because that would look a mess. Imagine just a mud hill surrounding your ground. That's not a good image, is it? I'm hoping. I reckon at that point they'd put the flags back up or something, because that cannot. How tin pot would that look? You've got muddy hills on the side of your ground. No, you can't be having that. It looks like. I saw a video earlier. Actually, it looks like the grass has been put down, the new grass, because I know that was dug up. I think the pitch was dug up. And it looks like, I think the main stands got like the seats around the right side was filled in. It looks like they've done the left side too, and are potentially moving on to the upper tiers. So things are happening finally. Whether they're done by the deadlines, who knows? But fingers crossed they are.
Yeah, it's a good start. I mean, the new owners, the new investors, I suppose they are at the moment, so not owners just yet, have made a fantastic first impression. Obviously, going to the pubs around Birmingham. Putting $1,000 behind the bar for people and everything, I think the publicity has been less than it was in the last bid through Richardson and Lopez, but I think that's for the better, actually. And in hindsight, obviously, it's a much better deal and much more business-wise people involved, I reckon. They obviously have got a plan for the club and everything, so they're going to make sure that it's going to be run properly. They've got the right people in. They've got people like Gary Cook, who we did a podcast before about. And yeah, I feel like it just seems a little bit more stable for once in a while. I mean, that's an odd feeling for a Blues fan at the moment. We don't get that very often.
Stable's not a word you necessarily associate with us, is it?
No, not at all, no.
Absolute
disjointed,
yeah.
It's like
balancing.
It's balancing a fucking Jenga tower on one block on the bottom. That's how you would
Yeah.
describe Blues at this
Yeah.
current stage. But
And a few times it's fallen down, but
yeah,
it's
we're about
being
to
picked back
rebuild
up
this,
now,
yes.
which is good. It's being rebuilt.
It's a wobbly game of Jenga at the moment, but it still
Yeah.
is okay. So yeah, Sam, what got you into Blues? Because I've got to be honest, you don't sound like you're very much from Birmingham.
No. So I live in Hertfordshire, but my dad is Birmingham fan, and all of his like side of the family are all from Birmingham. And yeah, he sort of moved down to this area when he was in his like early 20s. But yeah, when I was growing up, didn't really have much of a choice who to support. My dad was like, "Take you to a Birmingham game, sit you there, have a watch." And when my first Birmingham game was, it was 2009, so we were actually in the Premier League then. And my first game was against Wigan. It was 1-0 at St Andrews, and McFadden penalty. It was. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Interestingly enough,
that's where it peaked, and then everything else.
Yeah, got much worse ever since.
Yeah, literally.
We interesting fact actually. Do you remember in that game, because we won 1-0, didn't we?
Yeah.
Do you remember the linesman getting knocked out?
Really? You got knocked out?
Do you remember it? Because it was in the far corner next to the tunnel, and there was a challenge, and obviously the linesman got hit by the corner flag, so it hit him in the face there. Do you remember that in the game?
It was my first Birmingham game, so when I saw it, I was like, "Oh yeah, it's probably something normal that just happens here. Someone just gets knocked out, whatever."
You actually remember it though? The guy who actually...
No, because I was 8 years old at the time, so it's like the sort of memory is quite blurry for me. I do remember the penalty, but James McFadden
scores. Yeah. The only reason I bring this up though is because years obviously now we live up north, so my dad moved the family up here obviously when he got a new job. But the linesman who actually got knocked out worked at the place that we worked at Cheshire FA. So it's like, it was insane to actually meet him. It was just like, that's you? You got knocked out.
You got knocked out.
So you'll come to learn, Sam, that Tommy's memory of previous games is ridiculous. I could ask him the score of Blues on the 25th of January, like 1982, and he'd know it. It's mental. I don't know how he does it, but he just remembers every little detail about Blues. So
is this like revision, or you just genuinely remember it? Like,
of course not, man. I remember things like I ain't got much else to remember, have I? I've got much else on my mind at the moment. That's why I'm just always like, oh, fucking hell, I forgot about this.
Well, there's like a Birmingham player that like plays for another club. He's like, "Oh yeah, he played for us like twice or something." I remember him.
Yeah, he's like
really obscure players that pop up, and you're like, "Oh yeah, he played for Birmingham."
I don't remember any of the important things in life, like remember to lock the front door in the middle of the night. It's fucking I forgot to do that.
Right.
In there.
Maybe might need to sort your priorities and tell me how I like.
Shit, and turn the gas off on my tune.
The Blues won 2-0 10 years ago today, so it's calm.
Yeah.
So just sat there thinking about it whilst the house is on fire. It's like, I remember that day. Smells something a bit smoky around here. Yeah.
Oh man.
Interesting. I didn't know that actually. That was it's strange that is. Have you been to many away games before?
Yeah. I mean, I suppose I go to the ones that are like in and around London. So I've been like QPR away, Millwall, Watford, sort of all the clubs around here when I sort of can get tickets from. And haven't seen much. I think my record is 2 wins in the last 15 Birmingham games I've been to. So really not good. It's really bad.
That ain't great.
Yeah, I was there for the West Brom game. I was there for the West Brom at home because my dad's side of the family are 50-50, so they're either Birmingham or they're West Brom. So every single time we play each other, we sort of meet up, and it was like for years and years, my uncle was just giving me stick about the fact that we hadn't beat West Brom and that, because I think the last time we beat them prior to a couple of seasons back was 2007. Yes. And literally for all of that time, my uncle was just teasing me saying, "No, you never beat the Baggies. You never see us beat them." And then it finally happened, and then it happened again, twice. And it happened again, and I was like, "Brilliant!"
Crazy. Out of pure interest, Tommy, West Brom 2007 score. You were 5, so I'd be very impressed by this. I'm going to give it a Google.
It was 2-0. Gary McSheffrey scored twice.
What's wrong with you? That's
wow.
You were 5, mate.
Yeah. I did go to Blues games at that time, you know.
I can't remember what I had for dinner last night. And you know the West Brom Birmingham score in 2007 when you were 5.
In terms of short-term memory, I'm not very great with. Long-term memory, I'm okay. I'm really good at it now. But short-term memory, I'm not great with. I can't really remember much from this season, like, for example. In 10 years' time, I definitely will be able to. But Yeah, I
mental.
don't know.
And
yeah.
you gave me the goal scorer as well.
Yeah, I remember
Mate,
them both.
mental.
He scores the first goal. It's a free kick, and he hits it left-footed right into the far top corner. And then the second goal is literally towards the end of the game as well, with like holding on for a 1-0 win, and he takes it round the player and he lifts it over the keeper. So yeah, just like share with you. Just
You
I
got
know
like a
the game.
photographic memory or something, or you just
I don't
remember
know.
blue
Just
scores?
I remember Blues games really well.
There you go. Fair enough.
I remember the away game as well because, interestingly enough, I do know this from revising, obviously. So Paul Robinson was on the West Brom team that day. So I was looking that up when we were obviously going to interview him. He knocked out Damien Johnson and broke his jaw the game before, and then in the replay, in the game away, Damien Johnson scores, and the commentator says that. So I do remember that from that. So yeah. Yeah, obviously I do remember stuff from revising and everything, but I've got a good Blues memory. I can remember a lot of things. But we got way off topic here. We've gone massively off topic.
That's the theme of these. If we're not going off topic, something's wrong.
I'm talking about Tommy's brain. Yeah, did you go to many of the Carling Cup games? Interestingly enough,
yeah. So I was at the quarterfinal against Villa. Obviously, you know that is one of my favourite games. I think it forever will be. Semi-final against West Ham. So I was sort of upper end of the Tilton there for the game against Villa, and then and then semi-final against West Ham, second leg I was there. That was just absolute pandemonium. Just you saw like the complete sort of shift in momentum in that game. And it looked like we were sort of down and out, but then one goal went in and then another, and then you get the goal and the one in extra time, and the tide just completely shifted. And then I was at the final as well, which will forever be my favourite game. Sam, I was sort of right at the front of the middle, and when Martin scored, the BBC camera was panning round. And me and my brother were actually on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look for YouTube now.
Yeah, so literally, like Martin scores the goal, and like the camera pans round, and like my dad's hoisting up my brother, and then some random guys hoisting me up, and it just like pans round, and just the both of us there. And that is my favourite game, and forever will be.
I'm gonna have to try and find that now. If I could, if you could try and find it for me, because I love stuff like that. Because I wasn't on the cameras, I was too high up in the stadium. Also as well, I should just point out, Sam, that Zach didn't go to any of the games and is very jealous because of it.
I didn't start supporting Blues till fairly late. It was 2014, my first season following the Blues properly. I mean, I watched the Carling Cup games from home because obviously my dad supported them, but never at the game. So I have not experienced a single good Blues moment, basically, mate. So I'm just
2014 as well.
As good as it gets is the last day survivals, isn't it? And then even that's like just a complete nerve shredding.
I know. Well done,
Sam sits
that's literally it. So.
Zach sits at home with that game on his laptop, and he starts celebrating with it. So he's like, I was there, I can remember it.
Yeah, acting like I was there. No, I was always a football fan, but just never really followed a team. For whatever reason, the 2014 season, I started following them, and but shame it wasn't 2 years.
The season I'm going to start supporting for.
Some year.
I think it's, I actually don't even know. If you ask me how I got into Blues, I don't think I'd know, because I just remember the 2014 season. I thought, I'm going to watch every game now, really follow, and nothing sort of happened. I think because my dad did, I sort of just joined in, and then there you go. Because as a kid, like I was always like, your mates support like Man U, I just wasn't interested, and then 2014. But, no,
it was interesting. It was that boring to support Man United and teams like that.
I know, mate. I know.
Get a life, honestly.
Yeah, so I suppose like where you are, Tommy, like sort of in Birmingham, what's the proportion of like fans of top six clubs to like clubs that are local? What's sort of like the proportion of it?
Well, obviously, when I did live in Birmingham, obviously it was just massively Man United fans. United and Villa, that's always the ones. Yeah, always. I mean, particularly when I was a kid. I don't know how different it is now, but obviously I don't live in Birmingham now. But it was always United fans, always United and Villa fans. This as well, though, that like whoever the best team was that season was the most popular team in Birmingham, pretty much. If Chelsea won the league that season, the majority would be Chelsea. Obviously, I think the majority of the city obviously do support the Villa because they're the most successful anyway. In in reality, the most supported team in the city should be the team that is the team in the city is the Blues, obviously. But yeah, it's just not the case. I mean, like it might have changed now. Obviously, it might be more City fans or whatever. But yeah, it was always United and Villa for me whenever I was in school. But I've always been a Blues fan. I've always been suffering away. And rather interestingly, when we won the Carling Cup, the day after, obviously, because it was a Sunday, or was it a Saturday? I can't remember. No, I think it was Sunday.
Sunday, yeah.
But the Monday back, I was quite keen to getting stuck into some Villa fans at school and just starting rubbing it in their faces and everything. And yeah, they claimed that the school had a power outage, which was a complete load of bollocks because we were back in on the next day. So I was just like, oh, you absolute wankers, honestly. It's like nothing different with like it was when the Villa made the cup final the season before. Had they have won it, I guarantee the school would have been open. It'd probably been open earlier. That's
Extended
how
hours.
Open top bus or something. Yeah.
yeah. Let's watch the highlights. What's your homework today? Admire Aston Villa, how great they are. It's just fuck off, go away. As soon as we win a cup, though, it's just like, oh, school's off. What can we do?
Forever.
Yeah.
Just
Have a few
rub it in
weeks
the
off.
next day. Rub it in the next day and you're good.
Yeah, well, it wasn't the same then, though. It was the emotions were raw the next day. It wasn't the same on the Tuesday.
Yeah, because where I live, it's like majority sort of Tottenham fans. That's like the club that a lot of people support and that. And the season, obviously, like when we won the League Cup, I was in school, as you were, Tommy, just sort of like rubbing it in with everybody going like, oh yeah, my team's won something, look at us. And then on the final day of that season, we get relegated against who?
At Spurs, yeah,
So
honestly. Spurs are the ones, honestly,
circle,
man.
really.
Like, we did them a favour by stopping Arsenal winning the League Cup. And what do they go? They're going to relegate us on the last day of the season. The bastards, honestly.
I still get people sending like Pavlyuchenko jokes.
Yeah,
that name, obviously, that name.
I think the worst for Pavlyuchenko is the fact we nearly signed him the season before. It would have been like,
yeah,
those goals would have been for us had we fucking signed him the season before. But yeah, I'm not going to get stuck down this loop of 2011, man. There's too many things that just going to make me upset. Yeah, I think that we've covered pretty much everything on this podcast. It's a good first podcast debut, good debut podcast there, Sam. You've absolutely smashed it, mate.
Yeah, thank you. Really enjoyed it.
Have you done with the
have you, mate?
videos? It's going to be great having you on the channel for however long we can have you for. But yeah, it's been wicked, guys. What the hell do I say in my outros? I've completely forgotten.
Thanks for watching and that, up the Blues and that. Jamie's normally falling asleep or something.
Jamie's usually...
See when the takeover's done.
yeah.
Jamie's usually sorting something out in his kitchen. His dog's usually knocked something over. Yeah. Or he's having a fag. What else is he usually doing? Moaning. He's always moaning about something, isn't he?
He does like to moan. Does Jamie.
Yeah. But anyway, thank you for watching this episode of the Blues Focus podcast. It's good to be back, guys. Yeah. Be sure to follow the guys on the links on the screen right now, and also follow us on the links at the link on the screen as well. I will be back to my normal self, which I don't know how different it is from this normal self actually. So well, whenever we'll see you again, because we don't have like a proper schedule at the moment either, because obviously next week we won't be able to do this because I'll be in Spain. So we look forward to that though. There will be a vlog hopefully every day there. Last time I'd sort of compiled it into one video. I'll try and do it over the 3 days this time, so you get more of insights on what's actually happening there, because it was just a fraction of what happened last time. So yeah, it should be good. That be sure to like and subscribe, and be sure to follow us on the links on the screen right now. You can also follow us and listen to this podcast through the Sports Social Network on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. And yeah, thank you for listening, and keep right on.
Keep right on.